And welcome to another wonderful edition of the It's Not Even Like That podcast. I am your host, Pavar Snipe, and this is our Halloween episode. Cue spooky music, cue Michael Jackson dancing across with the Thriller outfit. Halloween, which brings to mind things like candy corn, it's disgusting, kids' Halloween costumes, adorable, and horror movies, the scariest stuff that you can find. And a big trope in a lot of horror movies is disability. Did you ever think about that? Did you? I bet you didn't. But I have a special guest here today who's going to talk about it. It's the one and only, my good friend, Stephen Verdile. Hello.
Hello, Pavar.
Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
I'm so happy you could join us.
Thank you.
So, tell us about yourself. Where are you from? What do you do? Who do you like? Who do you hang out with? Who you be with? What are your interests? That was me doing a Biggie verse, but like backwards and not in the right cadence at all. How are you?
I'm doing great. I live in New York. I am a comedy writer, and I also work in communications at NBC Universal. Mm-hmm. I'm really passionate about disability representation, and especially using comedy to combat ableism and using comedy as a form of activism. And aside from that, I love horror movies, so I'm excited to dive into that with you today.
Awesome. And you're a big old comedy nerd.
Oh, yeah. Super comedy nerd.
That's your jam.
Totally.
Yeah. So Stephen and I met at the Real-Abilities Comedy Night, Real-Abilities Live, which is the show that Emily and I produced back in April of 2024. And we got to talk afterwards because we had mutual friends and people had told you that you needed to meet me. And then I heard about your project. You've got a new show that's coming out. I'm really excited about it because it's sketch comedy. And you know, that's something that I'm really passionate about. And this was the perfect time to have you on the show.
Totally.
Absolutely. So you work for NBC.
Yes.
And you have your own TV show that's coming out.
Yes.
And it's called?
The Squeaky Wheel Canada.
Okay. And it's a daily show meets disability advocacy type show. Tell us more.
Yeah. So I would say it's a sketch disability comedy that we produced up in Canada. It has a cast of 8 disabled actors and all of them comedians sort of doing their thing. It's set in sort of a parody newsroom format. So I would say, yeah, similar to like The Daily Show or Saturday Night Live. We had so much fun making it, and I'm really excited for people to get to see it.
I'm really excited about that too. But before we get fully and deep into the Squeaky Wheel, let's talk about horror. What is your favorite horror movie of all times? My
favorite horror movie of all time? Honestly, I know it's disgusting, but I feel like Saw is hands down my favorite. It just psychologically like threw me off and really messed me up, and I love that about it.
And the what's that little character's name from that?
Jigsaw. Little puppet man, yeah.
I never saw Saw. I'm not a horror movie person. It's not me. I'm afraid of horror movies. The first scary movie I think I ever saw that I can remember was Werewolf in London. Did you ever see that?
I have not seen that one.
It's very bad special effects because we're talking early 80s. It's about a young man who goes to London and something happens, and of course, cue, he turns into a werewolf. It creeped me the hell out when I was a kid, even though the special effects were terrible. And then the next one I remember seeing as a kid was The Fly.
Interesting.
Yeah. Did you ever see The Fly?
I have seen The Fly.
Okay. The part where he's like in the machine and all the stuff with oh my God, what's his name? Jeff Goldblum,
yep.
And Gina Davis.
Yep. Super
scary, super terrifying. But I think the earliest scary thing that I ever saw in film, if I'm really going back, it was not a horror movie. It was Wizard of Oz.
Interesting. What scared you about the Wizard of Oz?
First of all, the Wicked Witch. She killed that role. I don't think that she gets enough credit for being extremely scary and terrifying. And the fact that she completely like traumatized generation after generation after generation of little kids. Mm-hmm. Like, I mean, the green skin, she just was a really great actress. She murdered that role. And then also the monkeys, the flying monkeys and the henchmen, they were all scary.
Yeah, that is quite scary.
Very scary. But if we're going to jump ahead to more modern or campy scary movies, I think we could talk about a classic from the 80s, Monkey Shine.
We're getting into more monkeys.
Yeah.
Monkey Shines.
Monkey Shines.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. So if you're not familiar with the film Monkey Shines, this is a 1980 something, probably like 86, 87
Sounds about
roundabout.
right. Yep.
Yeah, film, and it's about a man who becomes a paraplegic after an accident,
Yes.
and he has a like a assistance monkey, if you will,
Service monkey.
service
Yes.
monkey. Thank you. And it's a little baby monkey. It looks like the monkey from Friends. It looks like Marcel. That's what it looks like. So it's like Marcel. He gets Marcel, and he's very depressed after becoming paralyzed.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
And so he's not in a good mood. He's got friends that are supporting him, trying to help him through this journey of becoming newly disabled, but he's not into it. Right.
No.
And as a result, he's bitter. And his monkey, Ella, is the name of the monkey, by the way. Ella starts to take on some of his feelings and his emotions. And long story short, he mind melds with the monkey. And the monkey starts to go on a little bit of a killing rampage and starts killing folk that she feels like he doesn't like, or actually killing folk that he doesn't like. And she becomes a jealous little monkey. He's got a girlfriend. I think little Ella kills the girlfriend. Ella's a bitch. Ella's a monkey bitch.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So, did you see Monkey Shines?
I did.
Okay, what'd you think about it?
I have so many feelings about Monkey Shines. So many. But I love talking about it as a disability film because I think it has so many disability tropes and also like one or two very positive moments of sort of disability commentary buried within tons and tons of terrible ones.
Okay. Let's start with the bad and then we'll go nice and get to the good. Tell me one of the worst tropes about the film.
Okay, one that really bothered me was the movie opens up with this man laying in bed with his girlfriend. It has like a close-up of her butt, and then it shows like his abs, and he immediately starts jogging with a backpack full of bricks. I tried to wrap my mind around like, why is he jogging with a backpack full of bricks? And I think what they were trying to show is that like he's like the anti-disabled. He's like the strongest, least disabled man you've ever met. Until a little dog comes and spooks him, causing him to walk in front of a truck, where he then gets hit, flies up into the sky, falls down, and all you see is the bricks shattering.
Oh, man.
So I feel like that sort of super ultimately healthy person becomes disabled is sort of a mega trope, because in reality there aren't like anti-disabled people. You can't be like super abled or negatively disabled, but they try really hard to make it this like gigantic contrast of the strongest, fastest, most attractive man you've ever seen suddenly quadriplegic.
Yeah, that's a really good observation that I hadn't thought about. First of all, I have never seen anybody run with a backpack of bricks before. I don't care how much CrossFit you do. I have never seen that before in my life. I've seen people like, I guess nowadays would have somebody like pulling over one of those like 18-wheeler tires.
Yep.
That would be the version that they do nowadays. Okay. So the guy's running with a bag of bricks on his back, knocked over by a truck, falls, thrown up into the air. Bricks go everywhere. Wakes up, doot, you know, the good old doot, 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 because he's in the hospital. Doot, wakes up, and he's paralyzed.
Exactly. So from there, I think the movie just continues to sort of lean into a lot of the tropes. One of the next big moments is after he gets the service monkey, which is shown as like a good thing. It's helping him be more independent. His family invests all this money into his house to make it like super automated, where it has all these voice controls and assistive technology. And you'd think that like he would be thriving. He's wealthy and has all this support and setup, but he immediately tries to commit suicide by holding a dry cleaning bag over his head. Again, like,
It's not funny. It's not funny.
disabled people trying to commit suicide in films is another massive trope.
Yeah.
It particularly bothered me in this case because he had a lot of advantages, like coming out of that injury. Obviously, it's a terrible injury and super difficult to make that adjustment. But it wasn't immediately that he sort of goes into that deep depression. It's actually after he receives tons of support, and he's talking about going back to law school. So that struck me as really odd. It doesn't really fit in with the rest of the film because he's doing pretty well.
And also, like the technology that he was getting was way ahead of its time for 1986.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it's kind of stuff that people want today.
Yeah, he had
the things that he was getting.
activated blinds,
Yeah.
and his door opened automatically. Like, it was incredible technology for back then.
It's like, does not even exist. Well, it does exist now, but I don't know if it really existed back then, unless you were super, super wealthy,
Yeah.
I guess. Anyway. Okay, so now he's got the automated house. He's got the Google house in 1987,
Yes,
basically.
exactly.
He's got that. He has a girlfriend.
He does.
He's got a best friend,
Yes.
but yet still depressed and just wants to unalive himself.
Yeah, he actually sort of has two girlfriends at one point in the movie.
Oh, I don't remember that part. Okay.
Yeah, so there's sort of the initial girlfriend whose butt you see when the movie opens, and you like never see her again.
Oh, because she broke up with him because he's disabled. Now,
Exactly. They kind of
obviously.
imply, but then he finds out that she's actually dating his surgeon. Because why not? She leaves him for his surgeon. But then, to his advantage, another beautiful woman, this service monkey trainer, sort of falls in love with him. So he very quickly goes from one girlfriend to the next.
Mm-hmm.
And the service monkey trainer invites him over to her monkey training facility, where this is I can curse on this podcast,
Yeah,
right?
so you can definitely curse. Yes.
There's a scene where he performs oral sex on her in a wire lift in front of a room of monkeys, and the monkeys flip their shit and go nuts, and it is one of the most wild scenes I've ever seen in a movie. So I had to mention that. It just for that scene alone is a bonkers shit movie.
The 80s were wild as fuck. And I don't think we give them enough credit for that. Well, we got to find out who was the director of that, first of all. That's insane.
George Romero?
Okay. Oh, there you
Night of the
go.
Living Dead?
That's okay.
Yeah.
That's fitting. That's fitting. George Romero. Yeah. So there's a big old, almost like a live sex scene in front of a bunch of monkeys, if you will.
Yeah.
It turns into a swingers situation
Little bit.
in front of a bunch of monkeys, and the monkeys are going off. All right. That's special. Emily, by the way, our producer, is in the background losing her shit and cracking up at this. Just so if you hear random little ha-has, that's Emily dying laughing. All right. So to recap, guy runs with the bricks. Guy gets hit by a truck. Guy becomes paralyzed. Guy tries to kill himself. Guy's super rich. Guy's family gives him a super accessible Google house in 1987. Guy's girlfriend breaks up with him for his surgeon. Guy gets new girlfriend who is a monkey trainer. Guy has sex with the monkey trainer in front of the bunch of monkeys. He has oral sex with her in front of a bunch of monkeys. And then what? Because I like your recap way better than anything I
Yeah,
did.
this movie is fresh in my mind. Full disclosure, I just watched it. But so after that sort of relationship begins, Ella, his service monkey, gets jealous of his relationship with the monkey trainer.
Well, I mean, Ella saw what he did.
Exactly.
And she's like, how come I can't get some of that? All right, keep going. I'm sorry.
So eventually, Ella goes on this sort of murderous rampage, telling the ex-girlfriend, the surgeon, his mother at one point.
Ella kills his mom?
Ella kills his mom really for no reason. Like, the mom is just like, oh, you should be happy you're a lawyer. And the mom is just like this sweet, innocent mother who really like gives up her career to help him and does all this stuff. But anyway, Ella just kills them all.
Oh my God.
There's so many details, but Ella burns them because apparently monkeys don't know how to use fire. And Ella's like, oh, if I burn them, they'll never know it's me. As some sort of weird...
Ella's a teleport.
Yeah, she's smart because she has that mind-brain connection,
Yeah.
like you said. But the final scene of the movie, or I should say second to last scene, involves Ella attempting to kill the new girlfriend, the monkey trainer, and then in order to save her, this quadriplegic man who is paralyzed from the neck down figures out that he has to kill Ella. And he does so using the only sort of physical force he has left, which is his mouth, and he grabs Ella in his mouth and bites her to death. Sort of shaking her in his mouth like a dog with a chew toy.
Wow.
This man chews apart his service monkey. And after that, they find out that actually he's not quadriplegic. He has a brain injury and is miraculously healed. And he is fully able-bodied and lives happily ever after with the service monkey trainer.
Wow.
Monkey Shines. Go watch it now on Amazon Prime.
Catch it. And the moral of the story is, don't go down on your girlfriend in front of a room full of monkeys.
Yeah.
Don't do it.
I will say, as ridiculous as it is, the reason I wanted to mention that scene is I feel like there isn't really a lot of sex scenes of people who are disabled in that way.
No, there actually isn't. What can you think of? Yeah. Honestly, there might be a kissing scene and it'll cut away.
Exactly.
To something else, right?
So I think for that time especially, like showing that on camera is like fairly progressive, particularly the way that they lean into like his disability and the sexual acts he's able to do and using the Hoyer lift as a support. Like they really sort of lean into it and make it at least seem sexy in a way. I think the screaming monkeys kind of ruins the mood a bit.
It takes the moment.
It's a little bit of a distraction. but relative to like the other scenes I've seen in films that are similar, like it was ambitious. It was trying to not desexualize him, but show him sort of having like his post-injury sexy reawakening moment. That I thought was interesting.
That is very creative. And, you know, shout out to George Romero, because, again, he's a groundbreaking director, you know, as it is anyway. Because, like you said, Night of the Living Dead was his creation. So, and also the guy who plays a Monkey Shine guy, what was the character's name?
Oh, I'm bad at names.
I don't know. We'll pop it up on the screen.
He's just like a guy with a beard. He's like a generic dude.
But he was very handsome. He was a good-looking guy. He was... Yeah, so, you know, I get why they wanted to sexualize him a little bit more.
Yeah, exactly. I'm all for, like, sexualizing the disabled characters purely because it's the opposite of what normally happens. Yeah, so that was the good part. Let's name another good part. Got another one? I thought, like, the use of technology and even though, like, I don't think service monkeys are all that much of a real thing, I think the concept of, like, him trying to regain his independence and going back to law school and having a new relationship and all of these sort of normal things that people in their mid-20s or 30s would experience. They have him like re-entering society after his injury. I think other films, when someone becomes quadriplegic, they're sort of just shut out forever and stay home and don't date or go to school or anything like that. But I think the film did a good job of showing that because his family was rich and he was privileged, he was able to pretty quickly re-engage with his friends and family and school. And sort of, you would think, live a somewhat fulfilling life. Which is why I was so disappointed when they have that weird moment at the end where he finds out he's not even really disabled and is miraculously healed. Because I think they set him up to have a good life anyway. Yeah.
And people just automatically assume paralyzed equals not good life, no matter what.
Like, I don't see why it couldn't still be a happy ending if he ends up with the girl and the job and the beautiful house. Maybe he doesn't have his monkey because he bit her head off. But other than that.
Or maybe he gets a new monkey that doesn't want to kill everybody.
Yeah.
You know, all those things are possible.
Totally.
Okay, so that's Monkey Shine. I remember the movie because I saw it as a kid. Do not remember that whole sex scene, like, at all, which means either, you know, my dad cut the VCR off and fast forwarded, which is, you know, that's very possible, or, you know, I just blocked it out and I didn't quite understand what was going on. I don't know. That's all possible. Here's another one that scared the crap out of me when I was younger, talking about specifically now villains that have disability, right? Freddy Krueger, Nightmare on Elm Street.
Oh, yeah.
People don't think about the fact that he'd had a visual disability because he was burned. And so his whole face was all jacked up. But I will say this. He was burned because the parents in the neighborhood trapped him in a basement and they murdered him and burned him because he was molesting kids. So he was a bad guy first. He was a bad guy in real life, right? And then they burned him, and then he became this more evil villain character after the burns.
Yes.
So bad already, and then became, super killer of nightmares and dreams. Yep. That's one. All right. What you got?
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing, that like between Freddy Krueger, Jason Voorhees, from Friday the 13th, Leatherface from Texas Chainsaw Massacre, all these sort of James Bond villains, that there is so many villain characters in horror films who are disabled, and their disability is used sort of as like justification for why they're so bitter and angry and resentful and want revenge on the world, because they feel like the world has wronged them. I think in some ways it brings out something obvious, which is that like the world has wronged disabled people. The world does treat disabled people poorly. However, in real life, like you and I know, most disabled people don't turn into murderous serial killers. They just like turn into activists, or like maybe they just kind of live a nice cozy life and don't bother anyone. Yeah. But I know tons and tons and tons of disabled people, and most of them aren't serial killers.
Most of them. Yeah. I know a couple who might be behind the scenes, but I also know some regular able-bodied people who I swear to God might have a body or two in the closet. Yeah. I just know a couple. Anyway, so yeah, that's a terrible trope. And if you really think about it, the word monster, right, which is something that you think about in terms of like being a scary character in fairy tales or in films, in television. But monster is something that is actually derived from a word that was used to describe people who had physical, visible disabilities.
Yeah, definitely. I think a lot of what we associate as like what a villain looks like or what a monster looks like is someone who looks different, and often like shockingly similarly to the way that people with visible disabilities look, whether that is some kind of facial difference or skin or size or anything that is different is seen as other and scary and bad. Yeah. Or even in children's, if you think about children's films and in children's books, Hunchback of Notre Dame, Quasimodo, that's one. Frankenstein, that's another one. What's another childhood book or childhood fairy tale where somebody was, let me think. I don't know. Well, again, back to Wizard of Oz, the Witch of the East. She had, green skin. And then she had henchmen who looked like zombie people with big old Russian hats. And then, of course, I'm going to go back again. Those evil-ass flying monkeys, of which were terrifying. Monkeys are the serial killers. Oh, no, I'm just kidding. No, but seriously. Okay, so we've got those particular traits when it comes to horror movies. But did you know, speaking of Wizard of Oz, the actress who played the Wicked Witch of the East was on an episode of Mr. Rogers. Interesting.
She was on an episode of Mr. Rogers in 1975, and she was specifically there to show kids that she was just playing a character and she's not that scary in real life. And she was trying to show kids the difference between acting and real life and how they don't have to be afraid, because what they see in TV and movies is from the land of make-believe.
I want James McAvoy from Split to go on Sesame Street and apologize to the children for the same reason and be like, look, I shouldn't have done that. It was a bad role. Oopsie. And, dance with Elmo.
I agree. Totally dance with Elmo. Because then what he could do is talk about the good disabled character that he played. Professor X in X-Men.
Yes, another disabled character.
Another disabled character, but a positive disabled character.
Yes, he does like to play disabled roles, though. That makes me a little skeptical.
Interesting. But yeah, I could see him on set with Elmo. That would be really cute. First off, tell us, how did you get here? Like, who is Stephen Verdile? Like, where were you born? What were your passions? What is the thing that made you decide to be this funny guy who creates this website and then create a show?
Yeah, totally. So I think, like we said before, I'm a huge comedy nerd. I love comedy, and I think out of college, it took me a few years to find like a space for myself in the comedy world, because so much of comedy is not that accessible, particularly to people that have disabilities like myself. And that is things as simple as like tons of big comedy clubs are not wheelchair accessible, but it's also things like the expectation if you're a stand-up in New York is that you're going to go out for 2 hours at midnight, 7 nights a week for $10, and you have to arrange sort of transportation and healthcare, all these things. I was like, there's no way I would be able to do that, just the logistics of it. And then I became really interested in TV and film, and then I learned pretty quickly from that like putting together a film project is incredibly expensive, takes a lot of time and resources. There's a lot of heavy physical equipment involved. And then redirected my energy towards writing, and I realized that by starting this sort of comedy blog, I was in full control, and I could write the jokes, and I could be funny, and I could sort of have the space to tell my stories and use my sense of humor, but in a way that was fully accessible to me and on my terms. I could post once a day, I could post once a month, I could post on Instagram or on the website, and I really sort of started using that platform as a space for myself to write when I created the Squeaky Wheel. And then slowly more and more disabled writers wanted to write for the Squeaky Wheel, was because they had the same realization that I had, which is that if you are a disabled comedy writer and you want to write sort of short form internet satire, like Reductress or The Onion or things like that, but you want to write it about your disability, you really can't submit that to The Onion because it's specific and it's not sort of what their brand or audience is familiar with. So the Squeaky Wheel became sort of a home, not just for myself, but for, I think now we have about 40 contributing writers, all who write comedy, satire, inspired by their experiences as a disabled person.
I love it.
Which is fantastic because, as most of us know, like, my only experience is my own experience. I don't know other disabilities. I don't know what it's like for people of other races and genders and sexual orientations and all these things that overlap and intersect with disability. So I think it's fantastic that we have all these different perspectives. And then very, very fortunately, after doing the blog for a few years and it started to grow, this TV opportunity came about in Canada, where they were sort of a fan of the blog content and saw how it could translate to screen in the same way that I had sort of envisioned from when I started it, and got really lucky and worked with tons of super talented people, and we made it happen.
I love it. I think that's just absolutely amazing. And it just goes to show how if you really dream about it and you work at it, things can really happen if you're putting in the work. Like, how many years ago did you start the blog?
I started the blog about almost 4 years ago.
That's really fast.
Yeah,
in the world of entertainment, 4 years is fast to go from idea to something being actually shot and filmed and put up.
Totally. But I will say that I think sort of 4 years ago is when I launched the blog, but I think it really took me almost the same amount of time, like 3 or 4 years after college, of like consistently trying and failing other different projects.
Figuring it out.
Yeah,
basically.
Like wanting to write short films or wanting to try writing stand-up material and like trying to do all these different things that just wasn't working for whatever reason. And then eventually something clicked and the Squeaky Wheel came together.
I love it. And I love that you have the opportunity to like really show people what can be done in the disability space in terms of just making your own way and creating your project and really giving people the opportunity to have their voices be heard. Because at the end of the day, everybody just wants their voice to be heard and to be understood. So going back to your childhood, first of all, do you mind disclosing what your disability is? And when was the first time you saw somebody with a disability on screen?
Sure. So my disability is called spinal muscular atrophy. It is a neuromuscular disease. It's similar, but not the same as muscular dystrophy. I'm a full-time wheelchair user. I've used a power chair since I was 3 years old. I sort of have a lot of care throughout the day between friends and family, but also paid professionals. who helped me with things like showering and eating and getting dressed and all that fun stuff. But as a kid, a disabled kid, looking back, there wasn't a lot of representation, particularly that I thought resembled my life at all. When I was 7 years old, I hadn't been fortunate enough to see Monkey Shines and see...
or traumatized.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know.
I didn't have the chance to see a man with a service monkey rip its head off and feel seen. But recently, or I should say as I got a little older, when I was maybe 12 or so, the ABC show Speechless came out. And I think Speechless really was impactful for me because it looked like my life. It was a wheelchair user high schooler with a mom who cared a lot but sometimes got in the way, and friends who wanted to make things better but sometimes made things worse, and people kind of liked him but didn't really know what to do with him. And I think that was really authentic. I think anyone watching that show can tell instantly that disabled people were involved in the making of this show. I think that most of us can spot that instantly of this is real or this isn't. And I think there was other examples of movies. One that comes to mind is Don't Worry, He Won't Get Far on Foot, which is a movie where Joaquin Phoenix plays a wheelchair user, disabled cartoonist, and he's sort of funny but bitter and depressed. And I loved that movie as a teenager because I thought it was cool that there was a wheelchair user with depth and a range of emotions. Looking back now, I think I would have enjoyed it that much more if it was actually a disabled actor. But at the time, I was like, well, they have to cast him because there are no disabled actors.
No, you're like,
not
wait a
realizing
minute.
wait, why isn't there a lot of wheelchair using actors? And I think people still deal with that, knowing that a film needs an A-list actor to star in it, and then going, well, there's no wheelchair user A-lister, so we'll have to just cast someone else. And then the more you think about that, the more you realize that's why there isn't any wheelchair user A-listers.
Because, I mean, on one hand, yes, Hollywood is a business.
Oh, yes.
And so they have to find a way to pay for the
movie,
for the filming of this in order to get it. And they need somebody who's going to draw them in. But we'll never get there. We're never going to get there if we don't at least start casting the people for the smaller roles. Start casting people for the smaller roles so they can build up the resumes and build up the, star power to become the A-lister.
Yeah, and A-listers aren't born A-listers.
Yep.
They're made by Hollywood. Hollywood decides collectively to put their energy into certain actors who they think are marketable, and they push them and promote them. And I think we've come a long way where I think now there's a lot of A-listers who are queer, there's A-listers who are Black or Asian, but there really isn't A-listers who are visibly disabled in any sort of significant way. I think it becomes a little challenging because I think what's great is a lot of A-list actors are now disclosing disabilities, and I think that it's a whole different world. But the reason they have to disclose them is because it would have been used against them if they hadn't. Yeah. If they had sort of started out being so open about their disabilities.
Absolutely. You know who's an A-lister who's about to get a new show, and I'm really excited about this? Marlee Matlin, who's been a deaf actress. And Marlee Matlin has been in the world of Hollywood for decades and decades now. Oscar winner. One of my favorite episodes of Seinfeld is the one with Marlee Matlin. But she's getting her own show that is going to be, first of all, she's the lead, and the primary language of the show is ASL.
That's fantastic.
Which is huge.
I love the story. I'm not sure if you're familiar with this, but I've heard that on when she was approached to do Coda, the now Best Picture winning Coda, they wanted to make the film starring her, but with a bunch of other non-deaf actors. And she insisted that she would only do it if all the deaf characters were played by more deaf actors. And I feel like if you're in this community in the way that you are, you know that Coda has built at least 10 careers.
And look at Tony Kuchar in itself.
Totally. So many Oscar careers have launched from that single film. And that was because Marlee was an advocate and sort of knew her level of power and her level of fame and A-list status and used it to bring other people up, rather than using it to sort of keep people out.
Love it.
Yeah.
Love it. Thank you, Marley.
You love Marley.
Love Marley.
Marley Fancast.
So let's go back to your childhood.
Sure.
So you are from Long Island.
Yes.
Did you go to public school? Did you go to private school? Were you homeschooled? What was your school experience?
So I went to 1 year, just kindergarten, of sort of a all-disabled school, where I met friends I sort of still know now. And then I spent the rest of my years in public school. I'm very happy that I spent a lot of time in public school because I think the sort of unfortunate reality is that as a disabled person, you need to be over the top comfortable with able-bodied people in a way that is like not natural or not innate if you spend a lot of time at home or around other disabled people who live very similar experiences. So I think going to public school helped me learn how to communicate with non-disabled people about what my life was like. I think a big reason why I love comedy and humor is because I used humor as a way to connect with people and to make it clear to them that, like, I'm not a threat, I'm fun, I'm nice, be my friend. Like, I think that all of that comes from public school and growing up with people that didn't know what my life was like in that way. And then after high school, I decided to go to college at St. John's University in Queens, which meant living on my own for the first time in the dorms. I think that was another sort of really good experience where I got used to living away from my family. I think even though they were only like an hour away, not that far, just not seeing them every day and having nurses who were the ones that were helping me get up and get in bed every day and things like that.
Independence.
Yeah, it's a different kind of independence. I think a lot of people see relying on caregivers or nurses or things like that as dependence, when really, like, for me, that is independence. That's what I need to sort of be in control of my life and be in control of, like, what I want to do today.
Yeah.
Requires having people who are there to help me do the things I want to do.
That's equity.
Yeah.
Right? That's equity
Totally.
that we're all entitled to and we're supposed to get.
Yeah.
So you go to St. John's and you majored in communications?
Graphic design.
Graphic design.
Yeah. And then from there, I interned at NBC Universal as a sort of graphic design intern. Did a year of internships between a few different departments and really loved the company. I then got hired as a graphic designer, worked in the graphic design field for about 3 years. And then as I started writing more and was interested in comedy, there was an opportunity to shift to a communications role, which I really enjoyed because it's just different. It's something new. I get to write a lot more. And that's sort of what brought me to Squeaky Wheel and everything I'm up to now.
Okay. And comedy-wise,
yeah,
who was a comedian as you were coming up as a kid that was your favorite? And you were like, I want to be like that guy or girl. Or puppet, if it's a Muppet. That's fine. It could be Kermit for all I know.
You said I'm a huge Kermit fan. I have a full-sized Kermit replica in my apartment.
Shut up.
I do. Sits right on my desk every
jelly.
day.
Fully jelly because I love Kermit. I'm a Kermit fan.
Yeah, every day me and Kermit.
Yeah.
And my desk is covered with Kermit stickers. I love Kermit.
It. Okay, that's so funny that I just happened to mention Kermit.
It is fun.
Of all the frogs in the world,
yeah.
of all the famous frogs, well, the other one is racist, so. The WB frog. Screw that frog.
I thought you were talking about the Pepe. Pepe
yeah, that one too.
That one's also racist.
Yeah, that little Mimi frog.
There's a lot of racist frogs.
We don't like that frog. So Kermit and...
I think, like, stand-up was a big influence for me, especially, like, alternative stand-up comedians. I loved Bo Burnham. I think is someone who was very much himself and not sort of playing into, like, comedian stereotypes. I love Gerard Carmichael. I think we talked about that earlier.
Jared Carmichael, even though, man, that new show is cringy.
Oh, yeah. I don't know how I feel about him as a human. But his work, I find very inspiring.
Yeah.
I think that's the case for a lot of people these days.
I agree with you. What I loved, and when we talked about it, I love that the special where he did come out.
Yes,
but
Daniel.
the reason why I loved it is because the raw honesty and the decision to just go for it, but also the delivery. The intimacy of that special was different and something that I had not seen before. And I really appreciated that as a performer and actor.
Yeah, I love any comedian who goes on stage and is their self and isn't trying to do their own Seinfeld impression.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think people who have really distinct voices should use that to their advantage.
Yeah.
That's what I try and do. I know that's what most people try and do, is like, don't try and make yourself fit into the form of what's already popular, but try and figure out how to like channel the deepest parts of you and make that the focus.
Because that's the thing that people are going to gravitate to.
Yeah, people
the
like
real
honesty.
You. Yeah, the you.
Definitely.
That's the thing that'll really help you win.
Yeah, and you can't like hide it forever.
Yeah.
You'll never get anywhere if you're trying to not be yourself.
And then you're gonna feel so much better.
Yeah.
Like when I do a show and I come off and I've done something that was like highly personal, and people in the audience come up to me afterwards and they tell me how, that particular story that I said connected with them, it makes me feel good because I know that I've done my job as a artist,
Yeah, I feel the same way if I write a story and post it and people say, that's so me. I'm like, it's great. Actually, it's me. But I'm glad that it's also so you. I think it's great when people can relate to things that are like super, super specific. One example that comes to mind is I wrote a story for the Squeaky Wheel about a woman who was trying to hold the door open but had her foot blocking the door at the same time. Thinking that like, oh, this is a funny thing that happens to me sometimes. Not realizing that like every single wheelchair user was like, oh, this happens all the time.
Like, I can't get in, your foot's there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like, they mean well. They're trying to hold it open.
Yeah.
They're trying to make it more accessible, but they're inadvertently making it less accessible.
Yeah.
So I think even if you're not a wheelchair user, if you're disabled in any way, you know the experience of someone meaning well and trying to help, when in reality, they're just making it worse.
You're not helping. I have a story like that. I was in the gym. I have spurts of gym. I have spurts where I'm like, I go hard, and then I have spurts where I'm not even going to lift up a paper clip. But I had this spurt when I was going to the gym at like 6 a.m, like going like super early and working out for an hour. And I was in the locker room one day, and this is in Blink on 125th in Harlem. And it was 6 a.m. and I'm by myself, and there was one other woman in the locker room. And I'm just, putting on my workout gear, going into my locker. And then all of a sudden I just hear, can I help you? Do you need some help? And I didn't even turn around. I was like, no, thanks, I'm good. But then I was just thinking, help me with what? Like what? Help me with what exactly are you going out? What? I'm getting dressed. I'm in my locker. I'm here on my own. Clearly, I got here by myself. You see me getting like, what exactly is it that you want to help me with? And also, why are you staring at me from across the room? Because that's also telling me that you're just sitting there watching me, right? Like, what was that?
No one wants to be stared at in the locker room.
No one at all in general. So that was weird. So that was, I don't really know if she was trying to be helpful or if she was just being odd. But anyway, so things like that. So that's relatable is what I'm trying to say. I get it. The squeaky wheel gets the oil.
Yeah.
As they say. Or the squeaky wheel gets a show in Canada.
It does. It's a really great variety sketch comedy show. It has 2 amazing disabled actors as our news desk anchors, Grant and Gatry, and Grant is his character name, Graham and Gatry. And I just encourage everyone to check it out if you're in Canada, and if you're not in Canada, we are really trying to bring the show to the US, so follow us on Instagram at The Squeaky Wheel, and we will post any updates. Plus, in the meantime, you can enjoy all of our other content.
Wonderful. So the cast of the show.
Yes.
Did you know any of them beforehand? Were you part of the casting process? How did you find your actors?
Yeah, so I did not know any of them beforehand, but I was fortunate enough to be involved in the casting process, which was super cool and fun. I had never done anything like that before. And it was really cool because what we realized is that when we set out, we knew that we needed 2 disabled anchors and sort of 6 disabled ensemble members. And if you've seen a show like SNL, you know that in sketch comedy, each person needs to be able to wear many different hats and play many different characters. And there was some discussion of like, well, is it going to be hard to find disabled actors who can do all these different roles? If we cast a wheelchair user, are they stuck playing only the wheelchair user roles? What does that even mean to be a wheelchair user role? And I think what we came out with was 8 disabled people who were like so down to play not only characters that were very much like themselves, but characters that were so different from who they are in real life. And I think that really it was just to the benefit of the show that like I can't imagine the show with a different cast, because really it is their authenticity is the star of the show.
That's fantastic. Okay, have you ever are you in any episodes yourself, first of all?
I am not. I am all off camera, Steve.
Do you have any desire to be on camera?
No,
No?
just this
Okay.
one right here.
That's all good.
The one I'm
Thank
staring
you.
right into it right now. That camera.
Well, thank you. I'm glad that you agreed for this part, even though we did bum rush you because you didn't know originally when you agreed that you were going to be on camera.
Yeah, you said podcast. I was like, oh, this is great. I have a wonderful voice. But the face, I was like, ooh.
It's a lovely face.
Thank you.
It's a lovely face.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for blessing us with it.
It's a lovely camera. I can see straight into its eye.
So many cameras. So many cameras. Okay, so let's talk about the way that we look at disability and why hasn't disability been really shown in comedy like that? What do you think is the reason?
I think the main reason is that people who aren't disabled really see disability as like a bad thing. I think it being bad or scary is why it keeps showing up in horror villains.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it being bad or scary is the same reason why it's being kept out of comedy. Because people are like, oh, we don't want a wheelchair user in our comedy film. That's a buzzkill. That'll ruin the vibe, because that's a sad thing.
That's so Trumpy.
Yeah, it's so
Trumpish.
So opposite of the way that most people genuinely feel. I think if you watch a show like Rami with our friend Steve Way, you see that like introducing a disabled character into a comedy show that is a comedy about people. He feels like one of the gang. He blends right in. You feel like he's in the show because he's a person and it's a show about people.
And those two have been best friends for like a million years.
Totally. And I think that like it's a blessing for all of us that Steve Ray is in that show, because it's made, again, more opportunities for more disabled people. But just like Marley Matlin, the reason that was an opportunity is because Rami was willing to advocate for Steve and knew him his whole life and wanted him in his show. And again, like people who push for authenticity and push for disabled characters in their projects, it always pays off, I think, in the long run. And like they're the reason why these opportunities exist.
Yeah. So basically, we need to push for each other, and we need our able-bodied allies to continue to push for us, so that we can have representation that looks like what the real world looks like.
Yeah.
I'm going to say that every single episode of the show, actually. We need representation that looks like what the real world looks like.
The real world does not look like Monkey Shines at all.
I don't think so.
Nope.
No. Well, it looks like we've come to another end of the It's Not Even Like That podcast. I like to say it jazzy. It looks like we've come to an end of another episode of It's Not Even Like That podcast. Stephen, thank you.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. How can the people get in touch with you if they want to email you, show up at your house? What's your home address? Put it out there.
People who want to get in touch can find me on Instagram at Silly Verdile.
Silly Verdile.
Yeah, SILLYVERDILE. Or you can follow the Squeaky Wheel and find me through there. Yeah.
And get ready to tune into the show. Again, what's the Instagram for the Squeaky Wheel?
It is at the SQKY Wheel.
Okay.
So that is at the SQKY Wheel on Instagram. You can follow us for all of our content, all of our updates about the Canadian show, any future projects. We have so many things that are sort of coming up soon that we are so excited to start talking about.
Awesome. Well, I can't wait to follow and see the show and be a part of the American version and watch it just go as far as it can go. Not by be a part, I mean, be a part of the audience.
Of course.
Unless you want me to star in it.
Of course. It's a community project. We are all a part of the Squeaky Wheel.
Thank you, Stephen.
Thank you, Pavar.